In this video, I'm going to talk about 4 ways to play the thumb at the piano. By the end of the video, you should have a better understanding of the different ways the thumb can move and how to tell, using the context in the piece you're playing, which way to use the thumb. If you're new here, my name is Dr. Kate Boyd, and I'm a professor of piano at Butler University in Indianapolis, Indiana. By the way, you don't have to call me Dr. Boyd. We can be on a first name basis, but that is my professional title at the university, and that's what my students call me. I create these videos to help pianists like you take your playing to the next level. All of the examples I'm going to use today are from Beethoven's first piano sonata, Opus 2, number 1. Let's get started. The 4 different motions of the thumb that I want to talk about today are finger motion, wrist motion, arm motion, and rotation. So we're going to look at each of these with specific examples. The first thumb motion I want to talk about today is moving it from the base of the hand, just like we move the other fingers. A common source of confusion about the thumb is the way that the knuckles actually look. I'm going to do just a quick overview of the way that the thumb moves in relation to the fingers. You can look at your own hand and the way that the knuckles kind of look on the back of your hand. And you can see that these knuckles all look the same, and then these knobbly knuckles kind of look the same as that knobbly knuckle, and then these knobbly knuckles look the same kind of as that knobbly knuckle, but in fact, that's not the way the anatomy of the hand works. The fact of the matter is these fingers have this top joint here, and the first knuckle here is actually the same as the thumb's knuckle right there, where that is the thumb's top joint. Then the next joint on the fingers is this second joint, and so then the second knuckle is this one that looks a little bit more knobby, and that is actually analogous to this knuckle on the thumb because that is the thumb's second joint. And then the third joint of the finger where it is attached to the hand is here, and so we see these knobbly knuckles, and that is where the finger attaches to the hand. And the place, if we were to look underneath the skin, we could see that the thumb is actually attached to the hand at the base of the hand. And so the third thumb knuckle that's analogous to these thumb knuckles is actually down here. When you play the piano, this is an important thing to understand because that will allow you to think about moving the thumb from here and not just from there. It'll give you more flexibility and range of motion. So the first motion I want to talk about with regard to the thumb is moving from this bass joint right here. That will happen in the very first note of the piece where we move the thumb. It's a staccato note, it's a quick staccato note, and we're going to move it from here. We're going to drop from there. We're not going to drop with the whole wrist. I see a lot of times students play that kind of thing. We're just going to lightly drop in to the key there. I want to point out that the placement of the key is going to be at the edge, right on the nail, at a slight downward angle. And then we see it here. Okay, so when you have staccato notes in the thumb, that especially ones that are melodic, you can just play it right from the hand, even in scales or things like that. Sometimes it's not going to work to only play the thumb from this bass knuckle. For example, if I have a chord like that, I'm not going to just individually squeeze all of my fingers and try to drop everything at the same time from these bass knuckles because it will be harder to coordinate them all arriving at the bottom of the key at the same time. And so sometimes you need to play the thumb by dropping with the wrist into the keys. So notice that my wrist is going down at a quick motion. These are staccato chords, so then I'm releasing right away. Even if I have a long chord, I can drop into the keys and then just stop pressing into the keys and let my arm rest on the bottom of the key. So in a way, it doesn't matter that much if the chord is staccato or legato. In this piece that we're talking about today, Opus 2, number 1, the first Beethoven sonata, we see this motion in the left hand right from the left hand's first notes. We have these repeated chords. Right? So we're playing the right hand thumb from the hand, from the base of the hand, like the finger, and then we're dropping with the wrist on the left hand chords. Another example of a place where you can play the thumb dropping from the wrist is in Mozart's A minor sonata. I'm dropping from here. I'm not playing just from the base of the hand. The third way that we can use the thumb is by lifting and dropping with the arm. An example of this is actually in the second movement of this piece, where we have, so I'm in measure 37 of the second movement. In this example, we can do a big wrist circle with the left wrist. We go down and under as we go up, and then we come up and over as we go down. Drop, and then when we get to the thumb, I'm not playing it from this joint. I'm not dropping with the whole arm. I am lifting out as I come to. Now, why am I lifting instead of dropping into that? Part of that has to do with the fact that the thumb is not on the main beats, and I want to avoid large accents. Generally speaking, if I drop with the wrist into the keys, that's going to accelerate the attack and it's going to make the note louder. So if I want to make it quieter and a more delicate color, then I can lift when I get there. If the pattern were reversed and it started on the top on the beat and did something like that, like 1 and 2, I would probably reverse it and drop into the thumb. So you have to look at the context and see, where does the thumb come in the beat pattern and where is it happening in the texture. This is what it looks like in practice. Notice I'm lifting out on my thumbs. Another example of a place where we can use our arm, but this time instead of lifting out, we'll drop in, is in measure 11 of movement 1. We're dropping on these chords. So drop, 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 drop. And the reason for that is because I want to coordinate the two hands. I want the 3-note chord, even though it's played in two hands, to sound like one unit. And the best way to do that is to use the same motion in both hands. And so that kind of creates a unified. And because I have double notes in the left hand, I'm not going to just individually try to drop at the same time from the hand. I'm going to use the arm so that everything arrives at the same time. Drop, 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 drop. So I'm using the arm to help make sure that all of the attacks line up at the same time. And so to summarize the use of the arm, sometimes we'll use the arm to lift the thumb out of the keys, and then sometimes we'll use the arm to drop into the keys, for example, when we have chords or when we're playing on a strong beat. The fourth way I want to talk about using the thumb is when we use forearm rotation. And that's this motion where we go back and forth, kind of like we're screwing in a light bulb or opening a door or opening a jar of peanut butter. We want to turn the wrist this way. When we do that, notice that if this is the keyboard and we use rotation, notice that that pushes the thumb and the fifth finger in this case into the keys, which makes the keys go down, because obviously my hand is stationary, but when I push into the keys, that will go down and make a sound. An example of rotation here is if I do this kind of thing. Notice I'm not playing the thumb this way from the base of the hand. Notice I'm not dropping with the wrist every time I play the thumb like this. And notice I'm not using a big arm motion every time I play the thumb. I'm not playing that kind of thing. It is simply back and forth rotation, side to side. An example from this Beethoven piece can be found in 20, measure 20. This is broken octaves. Broken octaves is a classic example of a context where we would use rotation. So I'm playing back and forth. I'm setting my fingers. Notice that my fingers are not tight. I'm not making a claw. I'm simply making them firm enough so that they will not collapse when they drop into the key. I know my hand is too loose if I do rotation and like nothing happens because there's not any firmness here. So I need to have enough firmness in the actual finger so that the key goes down when I rotate toward it. So I'm going left, right, but I also do not have tension in the palm of my hand. So if you feel like you're straining in the palm of your hand, focus on trying to relax those muscles because that is not the way, that's not helpful for rotation. All right, so looking at this rotation, and then after 2 bars, we have a place where we'll drop in. So we're gonna have to use the thumb different ways, right? Rotate, and then drop. So in context, and then we continue our rotation. So you can see my left hand is rotating this way for that whole passage. In the right hand, I'm kind of grouping the notes in using a bigger wrist motion this way. I'm using basically a big wrist circle. And then when I come to my thumb, I'm playing it from the base of my hand because it's melodic there. And I don't want to all the way have to drop in that way. So I'm doing that. Then when I get to here, I'm doing a little grouping and I'm lifting out with my wrist. So the big takeaway today is that when you encounter the thumb in your music, you need to look at the context to figure out how you're going to play it. The thumb is different from the other fingers in that it is something that we normally use opposing the other fingers. And so by putting it next to the other fingers and forcing it to kind of play like the other fingers, we have to discern from the context the best approach for the thumb. I talked about playing the thumb from the base of the hand, just like the other fingers. I talked about playing the thumb using a wrist motion, kind of a tapping motion. I talked about using the thumb either dropping into the keys this way with the arm or lifting out of the keys this way, depending on the context. And I also talked about using the thumb by playing rotation. What I encourage you to do, even if you're not playing this piece, is look at the music you are playing and ask yourself, in each case where the thumb appears, which of these 4 movements makes the most sense for me to use? If you'd like to learn more about the technical approach to the piano that I teach to my students, you can download my free piano technique practice companion that is below in the description of this video. I also made another video about the thumb where I go over the main reasons the thumb often feels awkward and contributes to tension that goes all the way up your arm. And you can watch that by clicking right up there in the corner. So just click up there if you want to keep learning about the thumb. I recently passed a major subscriber milestone on this channel, and I couldn't have done it without you, my amazing viewers. So thank you so much for all of your support and for watching this channel. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and share it with your students or anyone else who will find it helpful. I'll see you in the next video. Good luck with your thumb, and happy practicing!